Hello everyone. This video is sort of part two of a series of videos that I've created to help you post photographs that you take using your regular camera instead of a phone. I've posted several things on using your smartphone to be able to post iNatural's observations. A number of people have asked me, well, what if I use my camera? And there's a couple of little things that you have to think about using a camera. So I'm going to create a series of 3 videos. I've already created and posted prior to one where I had a camera that had GPS coordinates located, and I showed you a little bit about my workflow of how I process the pictures. In the subsequent videos, I'll probably spend a little bit less time showing that, but I'll show a little bit of that so you can get an idea of how I use Lightroom to be able to help me post these things. And the third video is going to be using a third-party device to gather your GPS data. You can use your phone or you can use a GPS unit to be able to gather your data. And that'll be the third video in this series. But this video is a case where a number of occasions I enjoy going out and people will put out a sheet and put out a light at night to attract insects. I've done quite a bit of that over the years. And in that case, the one nice thing about it is it's one geographic location. And doing this, maybe you can say that I use really kind of low-tech equipment here. I have an older digital camera, D7100. I think that camera was new maybe 10, 12 years ago, something like that. And then I use a lens that is an old Nikon macro lens. They call them micro lenses. That was probably new in the 90s. So it's a lens that's well over 20 years old. So it's pretty low tech. But I go ahead and take the photographs of all the stuff there. So what I've done already, and so you don't have to go through those steps, I have imported all the photos from a session that I was spent at a night photographing. This was at Exploration Green in October of 2022, and I'm going to show you how I process some of these photos. So the first step after I do this is, after I import the photos, I go ahead and try to maximize the screen space so I can see all my photos at one time. So I'll just go ahead and click this little triangle here, get rid of that menu on the side, and click the little triangle here and get rid of the menu on that side. So I have here, I just went ahead and pulled a subset of 20 photos from that session. I think that session had about between 80 and 90 photos, but I just went ahead and grabbed just a section of them to show you how to do this workflow. So here I've started off looking, and there's some moth pictures and some aquatic insect. I'm not sure exactly what they are, and some more moths and various different moths and a little beetle. I will show you how I go about doing this. So what I do is I like to review the photographs, and at this point I review them and I try to pick which ones do I want to process further. So I look at this, and there's one there. He looks like he's probably sufficiently sharp, so I'll click a 1 here. Go look here. There's a webworm moth. I think this one's probably the better photograph. Here's an aquatic insect. I think I kind of like this one the best, so I'll put a 1 here. Here's another one that's glass veneer moss. I'll have to compare him back to the other one, but let's go ahead and put a 1 here. That one's about the same. This is probably the same webworm moth. It probably flew, and I finally found him in a second location, so I won't do him. Here's a glass veneer as well. I'll go ahead and put 1 here. This is a caddisfly, I think, so I'll go ahead and pick him. But this one's probably better. So what I'll do is go back 1, hit U to remove the flag, and then go back here and hit 1 here. There's the beetle, ladybird beetle. Here's a locust moth. And here's an army webworm moth. Here's a leaf roller moth, I think. I can't remember for certain. But this one, by looking at it, I know that his abdomen is probably sticking up. And I probably have a photograph of that as well. See, his abdomen is up. I like that photo. His abdomen sticking up. I like that. And here, I don't like this one because his abdomen is out of focus, but his eye is in focus. So the one with the abdomen up, I'll take this one from the side. So I've now gone through all the photographs. And I will go through and click attribute, 1 star, and now all the ones that I put as a 1 star image I will keep and look at. So I'll go to the develop module in the first moth here. I'll look at it. I'll go ahead and start to crop it. And if I like a different crop, I can hit the little X key, and the X key will make it a vertical image. I'll do that. So what I do is I try to make the insect pointing his head straight up as possible. I was told by a couple of insect photographers for ID reasons they like to do it this way, so I've started doing it that way. There's this webworm moth here. I'll go ahead and click X to make it vertical to get rid of all that stuff here, and to go ahead and get him here. Maybe straighten him up a little bit this way. Go to the next one here. I'm not sure. This is probably some aquatic insect. I'm not sure what he is, but I'll go ahead and do that. Put him in enter. Did I straighten it? Let me go ahead and straighten it a little bit. Yeah, make him a little bit straighter. There. Okay. Hit enter. This glass veneer moth. I kind of like these guys. They're kind of interesting looking. He's up straight up and down, so hit enter. And next. I already have this one prior to that, so I'll just go ahead and 0. I don't see a need for the duplicate because it's the same orientation. Here we'll go through and this little caddisfly. Look here. He probably has some really long antennae. So I will look at it a little bit closer. Let's go ahead and hit that and go ahead and look and see. Here's an antenna here and here. So I think it's a pretty good crop. His antenna goes out here, like here. So let's go ahead and maybe tighten it up a little bit this way. So here's a skittle caddisfly. Here's another caddisfly, probably a little bit different orientation. I'm not sure if it would help in the ID to do another one, but I will anyway. Here, hit enter. Ladybird beetle, he looks pretty good. Here's a mocus moth. I'm not sure which one it is, maybe a withered mocus, but I'm not sure right now. And this is a leaf roller moth. I think it's maybe eggplant leaf roller moth, something like that. All right, so here we go. So I've now gone through and I'll hit G on the keyboard to get all these up. So now I have this list of 9 images. See, this guy, I like to have them with their heads pointing up, so I'll hit this arrow twice with his head pointing up, his head's pointing up. This one, do that, little arrow, point the head up, and all of them have their heads pointing upwards. So we'll go ahead and click here. And I will open this up, click export. And as I showed in the other video, I always export to a folder for I call my natural submissions. I change the name a little bit. I add iNat to the names. I make it a slightly different size so I know about what size it is by looking at that NAT. It's a JPEG, sRGB. My quality is 60%. I think I've talked about that in the past. The size, I resize them to 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels. And this will make it so that the longest axis will be 2048 pixels and the other axis will be the proportion to that. If it was an aspect ratio of 2:1, it'd be 1024 in the height or the width category. Sharpening, I always do to screen because it's going to be viewed on the web, and I use the standard amount of sharpening. Remove personal information. Oh, I forgot to do something. I just now remembered. That's something I usually do in my workflow, because I'll talk about advantages momentarily. But if one wants to, they can go ahead and add GPS location information to a group of photographs using Lightroom. So I'm going to only do part of the photos this way. I'm going to do part of the photos in another manner later in the video. So here, I'll click the map module, and we'll go ahead and I'd already put in here exploration green and posted here, and I will go ahead and just click right here, zoom in, right click. Oh, these photos have the GPS coordinates there, and it'll be all located right here. Okay, so now what I did was, if you notice all these here, you see the yellow box, and there were 7 pictures taken at that location. So we have those. Let's go back to the library module. Let's go ahead and select all of them. We'll go to export, and we'll export. I've already explained all those things again, and I'm going to notice that the box remove location information is unchecked, because I want to keep that information that I assigned in there. I don't watermark my iNat photos, and post-processing, I don't do anything. So I'll click export, and it'll export the 9 photos. So now at this point in the process, I have created files that are ready to be uploaded to iNaturalist, and they're now in a folder. So the next step I will do is I will minimize Lightroom, and you'll see that my iNat photos are here. I'll click upload. Come on, upload. Okay, I will choose the files like I did before, here and here. Click open, and here they all go, they'll come in. And as you see, it fills in. You see that the ones that I added GPS locations in Lightroom, you see they say Clear Lake City, Houston, all those are in there in place. Wow, there's a few others that are not, and it's still populating because it'll convert that to Clear Lake in a minute. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the GPS locations for these photos. Remember, this was, using a sheet and lights at night. I was in one location taking pictures. So what I'll do here is click location here, and I will type exploration green phase 1. What I'll do here is I'll put these here. Notice it has picture already there, but because the ones that had GPS location will automatically be in there. So we were about right here. One of the advantage to this is you see this little circle here. This is sort of the potential error. Now, if you knew you typed it somewhere in exploration green, you make it really big. If you knew a particular area, you'd make it smaller. And if you're going ahead and nature track, you're going to put stuff in that might be in nature trackers. They always want this error information. So one of the advantages of using iNaturalist's map location to put the location, you can put that error in there. If you notice that for using Lightroom, the error information isn't there, so it's not eligible for nature trackers. You're going to have to add that information separately. I'll go ahead and update the observations. So now every single one of them has location information. Next, I'll go through and try to get put information in for each of the photos. Now, the 2 caddisflies I'll put in here, make them in one observation. Here's 2 grass veneers. They look a little bit different. Maybe they're different. And here's a leaf roller moth, the Mocus moth. So what I'll do here is I'll start getting a tentative ID. And I'll show you, talk a little about my philosophy here. For example, I know this is a Mocus moth. I think the most common one here is withered Mocus. And egg plant or leaf roller moth here. This is probably an Asian ladybird beetle, Asian lady beetle. Okay. Here's this caddis fly. I have a feeling it's not going to get very far. Oh. I'm not sure which one of these it is. What I might type here is, I don't remember, caddisflies. So here it is. Now here's that aquatic insect that I wasn't sure about, so I'll click on loading suggestions. Sometimes this takes a little bit of time depending on your internet connection and how many people are interacting with the iNaturalist website. So this is a webworm moth and another glass veneer of some sort here. Oh, it's the same species, belted. Let's go back to this guy over here. Its name is a genus that I've never heard of. And I'm not sure what it is, so I might just go ahead and maybe pick this sort of tribe. It's kind of higher, nice higher level. If someone sees it, they can correct it, and maybe I can learn something. But this is an insect that I never remember seeing before. So here it is. And I will go ahead and write a comment here. So since this is a tutorial and I've already posted these in the past, I'm going to mark them so that I know what they are, and I will submit them. So they've now been submitted. It'll go to your observations in iNaturalist. And here they are. And so that's all the steps that I go through if I know the GPS location, so I can use either Lightroom or the iNaturalist website to insert the GPS coordinates. If I have a little bit less information, I want to use a device, I have a video for part 3 where I use a GPS device or I use a GPS track generated in my phone. I will post those in the next one, but I wanted to go through this whole process again. What I did here was I took the photographs, I imported them to Lightroom. I did some light editing of editing them, orienting their heads up and cropping them in. Added GPS location in Lightroom, but I normally don't do that because it doesn't have the error information in it. So the photos will not be eligible for the Nature Tracker's website. So I generally will only, if I'm adding coordinates in, I will go ahead and use the coordinates that generated in iNaturalist because it has that error aspect to it. And then I go ahead and I upload them all into iNaturalist, and they're available for the public to see. Hopefully this was useful and you've learned a little bit more, and that we'll be posting a video on using GPS tracks that hopefully will appear in this part of it. Up here is a button where you can attach that video, and hopefully if you want to see the part 1 video, I'll probably link to that at the beginning of this video. So hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me through the messages or through email. I will see you later. Bye.